I'm glad that I remembered. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten halfway through and went, oh, crap. But long story short, this is really our opportunity to share what, why, how, when we're going to be performing these seed trials and give you guys an opportunity to dive into all of the questions you may have. Since that I've been talking about it, and I know Joanne has too, we've gotten, I know Drew, you probably also a number of questions. And so this is really our opportunity to open the floor and explain what we're doing, what the need is, as we've seen it from a little bit different angle than those of you that are in the industry, maybe working on a specific business. And so without further ado, I'd like to first hand it over. In the chat, I added I may have to add it again for anybody else that comes on, so I will add it, but I added a link to the FAQ document that we created that kind of outlines some of the frequent asked questions and how we're going to kind of frame the conversation today. And so feel free to download or follow along there. And then I'll also drop into the chat while Dr. Mahdi and Melissa are talking the research proposal and then the sponsorship opportunities that are available for the project. So Mahdi, if you want to get started, I'd love for you to make an intro and kind of take it from there.
Could you share the document, Mahdi?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, I can. Can you guys see that okay?
Give it a few minutes. Yeah. Yeah, it's clear now. Well, thanks, Mahdi, and it's a pleasure to be with you all to go over some of the facts and information related to this research trials and look into, could you increase the font, Mahdi, from your side?
Is that working?
Yeah.
That
You'll be controlling the document to scroll it down after we.
Okay.
So you could go up. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. What we're trying here today, we have research committee, Melissa, Rusty, Drew, myself, Caren, and collectively we developed this really kind of most frequent questions or concerns in your mind and information to give you some feedback about the trials. And we're looking forward to your feedback after you hear what we're trying to present here today. So the first question, which is related to why we are doing this research, and it's basically to look at the evaluation of these varieties and all of you, I'm sure you know that very well from your long experience, is essential for looking at these different varieties to develop a good protocol to conduct these studies. And this protocol is basically based on statistical design that take into consideration all the variables related randomization, look into these varieties to produce quality data. The other objective we're looking into with this reason for why we're doing this, it's to look at the varieties evaluation studies are fundamental to really examine the performance of these different varieties and how they perform. So if you want to market these varieties, you have a good research-based information to look at the performance of these varieties. And the other reason to look into conducting these studies is to have quality control design that follow research protocols generally followed by different scientists and researchers. And that's why to achieve this quality of research, we do this especially in small plots. And that's what has been done generally from my background as agronomist doing research in many different areas, that's to control what we call the spatial variability in the soil. Because the soil is variable, so you need to look into really control that variable so you have these varieties of performing with less limitation, less confound effect. I'll move the second point to Melissa if you want to cover that and go over the where we're gonna design these and
All right, hi guys. So a little bit about me if you don't know who I am. I am a field research scientist and owner of Performance Crop Research located here in Great Bend. I do small plot trials for a living. I work with developmental chemicals, varieties, genetic testing, soil safety, anything in those developmental stages, and data collection is what my company does for located here in central Kansas. But when Global Hemp Association came and said that they wanted to do these variety testing, I really jumped on the opportunity. I love the hemp space, and I really felt like there was a need for this because of the inconsistency of data, inconsistency of how this data is presented, and really the validity of these trials or on-farm trials that are happening in the country. We really needed a common protocol, a way to publish this that can be peer reviewed. So this is why we came up with what we did and why Global Hemp Association is moving forward with this to help the farmers and really all industry personnel. So we wanted to select 10 different varieties that were commonly used throughout the United States for fiber production. Now, there has been some people bringing up that yes, not all of our varieties are certified seed. We understand that, we recognize that, but we also understand that the certified seed right now, the list doesn't really compose or compile of all the varieties that are being grown throughout the United States. So we recognize that these aren't certified seeds, but we do recognize and are going to have third-party verification testing for germ testing, and origins will be published so that way you know where these seeds are coming from. We picked 10 different locations across the US. We picked areas that were an accurate representation of where these fiber varieties can really thrive. So we've got 6 different regions as listed in point E: the North, Central, South, Midwest, East Coast, and West Coast. We really think that this is going to give an accurate representation of different latitudes, different weather types, different opportunities for each of these 10 different varieties to shine in their respective areas. It's also going to allow the published data and give farmers an opportunity to really see the right variety for that area that they want to be in or that they're currently farming. So let me see what ones I didn't cover. Within the protocol, we've got a lot of different data points that are being collected that are very important in terms of the data that the farmer needs to pick the right seed varieties. Obviously, the most important of that is your tonnage, your biomass, because at the end of the day, yield is the most important part because that's how your farmers are going to get paid. But we're also going to be collecting data on weed pressure, insect disease, moisture measurements. We're going to do growth stages and different data collections at those that are typical for different production measurements. And then we'll have weather conditions, and that will all be published in the final report. So it's a very comprehensive report and very consistent from location to location.
Is that are those your pups?
Not me this time.
Oh, somebody's not on mute. Let's see.
if you mute your
more oxygen in the atmosphere. So much that the
There we go.
Okay, you're set. I think we got it.
good.
Sorry about that.
Nope, you're fine.
Go
So yeah, I think I covered point 2. Let's see, you
Okay,
want to scroll down to
yeah, scroll
13?
down.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm going to drop a reminder for those that just joined. I'm getting ready to re-add into the chat this research document or this FAQ document, as well as the other research document and proposal for sponsors. So you will have it and can follow along.
Melissa, you could cover the third point, which is related to really your work. You'll
Yeah.
be doing that work.
Yeah, so, okay, so people are asking, who's going to do this? And the reason that we don't love what's currently being published out there is because it's really done by on-farm trials. So we have decided to reach out to NAICC members, the National Alliance of Independent Crop Consultants, and this is where independent researchers go and be a part of this organization. You have to, not anyone can be a part of this organization. You have to have a certain academics. You have to have different sponsors to be allowed in the organizations, showing that you're experienced in research. And if you go to naicc.org, you can actually learn more about the organization, but you do have to have substantial research background. You have to have academic background in small plot research to be able to be included in this organization. And then as well as continuing education and training every year to stay up to date and be allowed. So that is who we've asked to do this research. There are people that have hemp experience within NAICC, and those are 8 of our 10 locations have direct hemp related experience. And then our last 2 locations are going to be people that have 30 years in the industry and growing and working in crop research. So I feel very comfortable with this new crop and following the protocol that we give them. So that is going to be who's conducting our research. Again, everything in the protocol is very detailed. What we're asking in them and the data that they collect. So that way it's a very easy comparison from location to location, which is what we feel like is missing currently in data that is being produced.
Mahdi?
Yes. Who can access the research data? Melissa covered all the aspects of the protocol and data collection, what kind of data will be collected. In addition to that, the data generated from this research will be processed and analyzed by the crop performance. And basically they produce report. The raw data will be controlled by GHA and will be hosted on the website of GHA to be available to the sponsor of these and accessible to help the farmers and producers in the industry in making decision in the production of fibers industry. And basically, as we mentioned, these studies will focus not on seed production, but on the fiber production, on the biomass. So that will make it more focused and targeted. Even at this stage, we are focusing on the biomass production, but future studies and future questions is still open to further projects depending on the funding availability and the sponsorship and the support from members like yourselves and others to encourage them to support that, because the hemp industry as a new industry and a thriving industry is going to need a lot of scientific data. How we could couple this work with the other issues related to climate change and soil carbon issues and soil health issues. So there's a lot of room for growth or answer other application for this research. And the data generated as well can be actually a vehicle to engage the universities and USDA, ARS research and exchange data with them and share their data with us to utilize it in some educational events like GHA. Hopefully we hoping to convene a conference on these findings and invite other scientists and other researchers. But this kind of studies is going to put GHA really on the map as an entity that's advocating for the hemp industry by conducting research and build the research and development arm of GHA to attract more funding and more support. But we need to produce some tangible evidence that the GHA is capable of doing that. So that's a first start, and I think that's is going to help launching future projects and future data that help support the industry. The last point, and this is for everybody to know how this research will be funded. Basically, it's going to be depend. GHA, as all of you know, it's a nonprofit organization which solicits donation and support from membership and from industry to support this research. So there is multiple sponsorship, and we developed some, if you will, bulletin or flyers listing the different levels of membership and different level of sponsorship by the industry and individuals to support this. And just a final comment from my perspective as a research committee, I was asked to help with the direction and building this research platform. I find it very exciting and very supportive. We are not going to answer all the questions probably you have in mind, but this is a start. And that's how research question starts. You need to focus it on one issue and then evaluate the research data, evaluate the outcomes, and based on that, you fine-tune your research and add more issues and more concerns and more questions that the membership concerned about or the industry need answer to. So that's basically what we have here, Mandy, and open it for questions and for your comments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did want to just give a real quick shout out that GHA has recently partnered with or come together with to join forces with Friends of Hemp. And so you'll see Friends of Hemp on a lot of our marketing or our content, because that's the 501c3 or the nonprofit that we are going to be using to obviously run our research and our funds. And so as you see Friends of Hemp, that's the connection. There's a press release that went out today to some channels, and some will continue to go out, but you will see that. And then I wanted to real quick add, I don't know if Drew, and I saw Rusty was on, I don't know if he's maybe just listening in, but I wanted to give you both an opportunity to chime in or add any details as part of the committee.
Yeah, I could jump in just to kind of share my thoughts from my perspective, which is not as scientific nor as farmer as far as experience, but I have been distributing seeds for several years, mostly on the cannabinoid side, but more so on the fiber and grain. And really, it's important to understand that that was based on where the market was. So when we jumped into hemp in 2019, 18, the market was cannabinoid driven, CBD driven, and it has slowly dropped off, but it's still alive and well, just more regionally focused and not to the scale that it had been earlier. At the end of the day, it was the farmers really that were hurt in this process, mostly because they were growing speculatively. What we're seeing with, and in this research specifically on fiber, is where's the market? So at the end of the day, you really need to focus on who your buyers are. And that's why this is fiber centric. And even to expand it further, fiber from a herd perspective, more so than fiber for textiles, because that's still has a long way to go. The industry is very young. It's only been legal now for 3 years. And we are really trying to help the farmer identify what works best for them, where they are relative to what's available. So we've selected seeds that we feel have been grown and are available. It's not every seed. They're not all ayahuasca. There will be others. This is the first year. So we have many years to go. It was mentioned as far as scale to being smaller because that has better control. I'm the one in the group that asks a lot of stupid questions because I'm not a farmer and I'm not a scientist, but I'm involved to learn and really to help the farmer at the end of the day, because without them, we don't have an industry. You see behind me, I was in Indiana over the summer. There's some fiber crops there. North Carolina, where I'm based. I went out to California. And so I've been traveling around and showing up. And that plant, whether you're growing for cannabinoid fiber and grain, is going to perform differently relative to how you grow it and where you're located. So it's really important for us to take some of these varietals and grow them the same way in different regions. And even looking, yes, a lot of other people have done research, and it's good research, but it's limited from the extent that there's specific things that are being looked at in specific regions. So pest pressure, weed pressure, many other things in academia. So there's a lot of information. What we're trying to do is capture a very specific look at fiber grown the same in different regions and how it performs for the farmer's best interest. So I just wanted to kind of highlight some of those points.
Is Rusty and Caren here? Other
Rusty
two
is.
committee members?
Yes.
I am. So apologies as I am waiting for an ultrasound FaceTime with my wife, which is why I'm not in my office and I may be a little shaky here. But nonetheless, I'm super excited about this because of the fact that, as Drew touched on and Melissa, we're going after the biomass, and for our specific end use applications that we've identified and what we're doing, both the fiber, the coarse fiber, as well as the herd at volume is what we're going for. And it's composites, calcium carbonate replacement, fiberglass replacement, and we have quite a few different end use proven concepts. So to understand and identify as our farmers and some of these varietals that can be picked apart here in these trials that we're doing are going to be very advantageous for us to be able to then show to the farms in our areas in Michigan and in the Midwest as well, as a director for them to look at, what type of seed is going to and what type of varietals are going to be indicative for them to use for biomass tonnage, which in our region and what we are specifically growing for, that's exactly what we're looking for is biomass tonnage. So when we had the opportunity to work together on this was a huge yes for me. And I think that, again, as we came together in identifying, keeping it simple, that's what we need foundationally here. And as they've already touched on, the ayahuasca and OECD certification for only a few of the varietals, that doesn't dissuade me at all, because my end use applications and my customers and clients, they're not worried about seed certification. The farmers more so are, but here in Michigan, we are seeing some legislation around potentially high THC contents being able to be dealt with in different ways. So that's where we're coming from. And I hope that I'm not too distracted, that you guys understand where I'm coming from.
Melissa, you have anything?
No, just ready to jump into these questions and get people's, get people answered and maybe alleviate some uncertainty as to this project moving forward. So for Brooke, she said, what are the varieties in the study? We are not releasing that until funding is complete. We don't want to dissuade a company one way or another because maybe they don't like the varieties that we've chosen. When we do publish this, we will publish why every variety that we chose is in our study. Everything was very well thought out and everything has a purpose for the varieties that we chose. So.
I want to add really quick, and I think that you said this initially, but there are some varieties that we know may perform that we can't get a hold of. And so we felt like for the first year, not only are we looking for a variety of different seeds across different regions, but also we wanted to make sure we were able to publish data that was actually usable in year one by our farmers and then scalable from there. And so that was taken into mind and considered at great depth when we were picking our genetics. So I want that to be pointed out also, is that for the intent of this and as fast as the industry is moving, to Daryl's point, R&D is quick. You guys are the processors and our end buyers need scalability and commercialization, and this is phase one to really allow for that. So go ahead, Melissa. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's perfect. I'm glad you added that. So
Yeah.
okay. How are the trials being tied to end use products? So because most of the market right now is coarse fibers and herd production, that's when we built this protocol, that's how we determined the harvest points. So we are not chasing textile grade fiber info at this time, just because so few of farmers are growing for that purpose. We don't feel like the protocol and the trial would be scalable to the masses if we targeted that. So for end use products, we're chasing coarse fiber and herd production.
There's other question. Your research is focused on developing seed varieties. As we stated initially, it will be focused on the biomass production on the tonnage. For variety trials, actually, and variety selection, that's really mostly plant breeding research, and that's require different set of skills that plant breeders should be involved in that research. And we are not into the seed selection varieties, but into the evaluating these number of varieties about their production of biomass.
So I love Bill's question here. Due to the track record of bad actors in hemp genetics, why are varieties without any certification of stability and uniformity being considered? Because if you pull up that list of certified seeds, that is going to target and really only give great information if you are close to the Canadian border. Okay, there's a lot of growers throughout the United States that do not care for a Canadian certified seed because it's not going to grow in their latitude. So we understand the bad actors in the hemp industry. This is not our first rodeo running through and looking at hemp genetics. We understand where we're getting our seeds, and we're going to have the testing from a third-party lab to support why we chose the seeds that we did. All of that will be published. We'll make sure that we are picking good genetics, good suppliers, and that are available to farmers to be able to purchase. So that is how we're answering that question.
There was another question that came to me. I don't know if it was on purpose privately or not, but wanted to bring it up, is testing the actual fiber itself and fiber quality. It's something we internally have discussed, but this initial project, it is not written in to actually pull fiber grade and quality at each of the phases. However, depending on funding, if that's something that by March someone comes in and we need to add it, it could, of course, it's something we can build on, but just addressing year one.
Yeah, this is more the field data that's being collected. We're not taking it through the processing facility, and we're not collecting that data. That would be a different phase of research. Right now, they're looking for funding and we're writing a protocol for field data collection. Okay.
As I say, do you want me to find more questions or are you good?
No, I was just reading them. So
Okay.
who will be writing the
Yeah.
report? Will it be third party validated? So Professor Mahdi and I led the report writing along with Drew, Mandy, Rusty, Kayla, who else am I missing?
Caren Wilcox.
Yes. And so this was the party that went ahead and wrote this protocol. It's now been peer reviewed by different organizations that are running these trials for us. We asked for feedback from them for any clarification. These are all people with hemp research experience. And so we have validated the protocol and have done that.
I just add one additional thing to what Melissa said. All these sites in different 6 regions chosen for weather and soil variability and production, other factors impacting the production. Also, they use the same protocol, the same design. So there is no confounding effect between one site and another. Also, a unified protocol for data collection, timeline of the data collection, execution of different stages of the research process will be followed according to one protocol in all these regions. So when we compare the variety of performance in region X versus region Y, that's the same protocol will be used. So that just additional kind of mechanism for quality assurance about the data collection that is collected according to unified protocol.
Great point. There was one question here. I don't know if you saw this. It was from Brooke earlier that can we assume that the varieties are different than the international multi-state study completed in 2020 that will expand on current industry metrics?
I would have to go look up that study and
I'm going to add that I think really where big difference is, and this is something that's been really important to us as we've developed this, is this is third party. This is not an internal study. It's not owned by a university. We will partner and work with universities on, supporting data and peer review, but we really want this to be about the industry and used for the industry. And I think that creates a level of security for farmers when they're looking at data or trying to figure out what genetics to use, or when different organizations, because then it is a third party validated.
I don't, Melissa, if you answer that question, who will be writing the report would be third party validated. The data will be analyzed and written by Melissa and her group in collaboration with our committee, and we will evaluate or review that data and analysis according to known protocol and statistical analysis package to interpret and write and tabulate these data. If you publish this research in a free journal article, then it's going to be outside or external review. This data, as any variety trials, if you don't publish it, you don't need a third party to come and certify it. It's done according to research protocol, well-known and nationally used data analysis system, what we call statistical analysis system, and another software that's used to And also the design of the study was conducted or designed according to what we call randomized block design system that's well known in the scientific community to minimize any confounding effect by many different factors. So basically randomly you distribute these treatments within the area of research. So
Someone just said, thank you for working towards a predictable future for our farmers. I think that's really where our farmers are at the heart, of all of us on this committee. And so I just want to highlight that yes, I absolutely agree. And thank you. Any other questions? Did you guys see any others? Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Maddie. Just a quick question, clarifying question to make sure I understand kind of at a high level. You've harmonized the agronomic protocols and the studies across various regions. You've chosen a variety of seed-specific varietals. You're not concentrating on, or I'm sorry, fiber varietals. You're not concentrating on a refined fiber, but you are controlling the ratio of hurd to fiber, coarse fiber, by harvesting at a certain maturation period. And so you're driving towards a lot of hurd and a lot of coarse fiber because that's where the market is heading, but you're selecting varietals that are intended to yield high fiber content, but you're controlling that by harvesting at a certain period.
So to make, I think I'm understanding your question correctly. The reason we're taking it to a later maturation than just fiber production is just because that we don't have the textile market here at this time. So yes, we are taking it to a later maturation. So there's more herd production, more fiber, make it more representative of what farmers are doing in their practices. So,
But you're selecting fiber varietals. You're just taking in and extending the maturation period so that you end up with coarser fiber and a higher herd content.
So we can pull mainly for the data, right? And then year 2 is where, of course, opportunity or funding. I think this is the big
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the same thing I think that Rodale did when they started figuring out what kind of yield can you generate fiber. And then they went towards, okay, let's assess the fiber in terms of quality and application for certain types of going forward. So does it grow well here? What's the agronomic protocol that yields the most? What varietals do the best in this area? And then you tighten the scope by year 2 and year 3 study.
Yeah, you get it.
You're on.
Lucky guess.
Yeah.
Your first day, right? I wish, Rusty, I saw your camera came back on. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, just kind of to touch back on one of the things that I see from a standpoint of growing and for the farmers, and then of course downstream to the end use applications. When I was looking at the certified varietals, just as Melissa had mentioned, we had grown quite a few of the Canadian varietals, back in 2019. And for our specific biomass yields that we were trying to get to, we were underwhelmed by a lot of the varietals that we had selected that were certified, right? So just to kind of speak to, again, the bad actors comment and things like that, some of the varietals that we've picked, anecdotally and what we've seen across already, they show some good promise, right? So again, this early in the industry, I think it's just very advantageous to be able to, put in non-certified seed as well. And just like Melissa said and Mahdi said, we know where they're coming from at least to help mitigate against that bad actor, challenge, right?
Yeah, this was a project we've been working on for months. This isn't, it took a long time for us to even nail down, like I said, a long time considerably, but long time in the hemp industry. Our plane is flying while we're trying to fix it. But yeah. Any other questions or anything you guys want to add?
I'll jump in again, just to highlight and express the appreciation. I mean, this is a true collaboration, and where this industry is so young and requires so much innovation. And I encourage anybody and anyone else who wants to get involved in doing research, like try to identify some of the pain points and some of the challenges that the industry is facing and trying to figure out what we're attempting to accomplish, which is developing this market. I mean, we picked some metrics that made sense from our perspective, keeping in mind that it's not necessarily just seeds being sold to farmers, but it's really trying to help processors as they come online, identify within their region where they can achieve the most success. Because what we don't want to have is a lot of failure, because that's just going to hurt the industry as a whole. So we're really trying to put out information that will be beneficial and helpful to give people who are wanting to get involved an indication of where they can best spend their money relative to what they're trying to process and offer to the farmers that are growing in their regions. So it's pretty complex. This is, a stab at what we see as being valuable information. But again, we encourage others, if they have other ideas or better ideas that they think they should study, go study it. If you're not sure and you just want to help us, we need all the help we can get. And primarily with fundraising. I mean, that's really what we're looking for, the support to help us develop this for the industry. And that's, one of the things I'll be doing as I'm traveling around and having speaking at other events, is to try to raise some funds. And if you want to contribute, we are all about it, and reach out to Mandy to get some more information about that.
Go ahead, Melissa. Thank you, Drew.
All right, so Tim says, curious why the variety names aren't being released. Haven't thought it through, just strikes me as odd initially. We understand the lack of transparency in that, and until funding is complete, we don't want to release those varieties, because there's still a lot of, people think that it should be done this way, or maybe they won't fund it unless you put their friend's variety in the study. And so you lose that independent status. You lose that ability to, what's the word I'm looking for? We want to make sure this is as valid and as non-biased as possible. So once we get the funding locked in, we've already locked in our researchers. We'll be presenting all of this. Mandy will be showing you guys, we are going to have field days, so you can actually come out to 3 different locations, one in central Kansas, it'll be in Great Bend, and then one on the east and the west coast. So you can see how these varieties are performing in the field. You can see the sponsors that have put this on. But that is why we're not releasing the varieties until we've finished with our sponsors. So we just want to keep the validity of this trial.
Right, validity is great, right? There are so many ways to poke holes in it, and we've diligently as a team discussed this over and over again, as we want this data to withstand peer review and to be able to scale. And like we pointed out a number of times, there is a lot of data out there, but from one county to the next, it's collected differently and it's not consistent. And so our goal really is to provide, again, that platform and eliminating that risk of poking holes in it, or that risk of swayed data one way or the other based on who's involved. So
to answer your question, Bill, no, none of the owners of these varieties have paid any fees or bought any sponsorship. We bought all the seed, so it's all done third party. So no, there's no swaying of data one way or another. And the furthest south trial that'll be carried out, we've got some trials in Texas, and then we'll release the locations, the 10 locations here in about a month.
Yep. Cool. Rusty, anything else you want to add? I saw you nodding your head. I don't want to close you off.
No, I was just, I appreciate everybody's questions, and also kind of some of the, I guess, some of the questioning of where our coming from and why we decided to do it, and the lack of transparency on there. That actually makes me really happy that you guys are asking those questions, because again, as Mandy said, those are the things that we went through. And one of the things that I think that anybody that knows Melissa, myself, Dr. Mahdi, Drew, Caren, Kayla, and Mandy, we're really all about the industry here. So we really wanted to first and foremost help the industry and how can we best do that, right? And that is trying to do this as scientific as possible, foundational as possible, and having that scalability portion of it. So again, outside of this, if there's any questions that, I always want to make myself available to individuals. And I think I'm getting a call from my wife now. So much love, guys.
Congrats.
Okay.
Bye. Good luck.
Good luck.
That's awesome. Cool. David, I saw your mic came off. I didn't know if you intended. Do you have a question? David Russell?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Making sure. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to chime in. Emily, did you have anything you wanted to add? No, you're okay. Oh,
Thank you. Just happy to be here.
Oh, good. Perfect. We do have another one of these scheduled for Monday. So if you have anybody else that are interested, have questions, feel free to invite them back to Monday, same time at 1 o'clock, I think, Mountain Time. Oh, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I could read your lips, Joanne. Good thing. So 11 Mountain Time, and I will drop the chat in here. But Dr. Mahdi or Melissa, Drew, do you guys have anything else you want to add real quick?
I think I'm good. Just last comment, I would say, thank you for organizing this. This is a great platform to discuss and have this kind of engagement really in advancing the industry, because it's a collective effort. That's what you could achieve these kind of milestones based on sound science. And probably this is not the first step, as we said. There's going to be multiple steps down the roads to provide more information that will help farmers and industry at large to make a sound decision based on science. And that's, as Rusty mentioned, that's really our guiding principles, is to develop this research based on science and as much as possible. And these steps is critical to transform this research into the scale it up to the larger production. And that's really the essence of this research. And that's normally what's followed by different commodity groups and through different institutions, whether universities or ARS, USDA. That's really the mechanism to have a good solid data to make a good decision. Thanks, Mandy.
Thank you, guys.
One other thing, I'll jump in that I hope you all show up at a field day this summer.
Yeah.
I just went to Kansas in a snowstorm and made it back. So summer should be fun and should be good. If you can't support, thank you all for joining and at least showing interest in participating today. And if you're unable to sponsor or support us monetarily, getting the word out is really important. So even on social, to like, to comment, to tag, to share, to just get the word out, because the more people realize and know what we're doing, I think it'll be better, so that people, whether they're processors or farmers, can learn, because ultimately this is all about, we're all trying to learn this together. So please participate, even if it's just a like and a thumbs up online.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I always forget, and it's so helpful. Sometimes it's not so much about what we are able to do, but who we know and what they're able to contribute. So thank you, Drew. Well, you guys, I would love to connect. I'd like also real quick to give a shout out to Joanne. Joanne, for those of you that don't know her, is our member director. She's actively engaged. She's been in the industry for a long time. And so she's connected, really well connected. So please don't hesitate to reach out to her if you guys need anything or have any questions. I don't know if Joanne, you want to say hi, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good to see some of our members in the chat and joining, so thank you for that. As Mandy said, I'm working here with member relations, so if you get a spam call from Utah, it's probably me, and we'd love to have you as a member. So I am doing some outreach, so yeah, please pick up and let's chat.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've called T-Mobile to switch our number from spam likely to Global Hemp Association, but it still says spam likely, unfortunately. So thank you guys. I hope to see you tomorrow or on Monday. Other than that, I'll be in Florida. So if any of you are in Florida, please reach out. I would love to connect with you. I'll be down there this weekend. And so, yeah.
Hey, Mandy?
Yes.
Yeah, hey, Randy here. Hey, just the thought,
Yeah, please.
and Mandy and I have been talking about a couple other things, but I think on the sponsor side for the seed grant and the research and things like that, it's a nuanced effort, certainly, and looking at how a seed research partner could come into the fold here. There's some interesting, conversations that need to take place relative to, you might say, a GHA sponsor versus a seed sponsor, and how those are separated out. And I think that the association should have that consideration, because it's always about, what's the return for that? What's the benefit to that, those research dollars to that sponsor? And so that has to be carefully handled, I think, and probably separately. And I know you've already had this discussion before. You're down the road a little further on this, but we can maybe throw out some ideas what that would look like too.
Please. Yes. I'm always open to feedback on how we grow this together. And that's what I want to stress more and more is it's important to me and important to our team at GHA that this is about the industry and what's best for the industry. So I welcome feedback, and I love the support, Randy. Thank you very much. Okay. Other than that, let's connect, Randy, whenever works best for you. And if anybody else needs anything, don't hesitate to reach out to either Joanne or myself. And then everybody else, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Mandy.
It was good. Good luck down south. Good luck.
Good afternoon, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Saludos desde Ecuador. Buenas tardes.
Thanks,
Saludos,
Paul.
buenas
Hello.
tardes.
Buenas tardes. Mucho gusto.
That's one thing I don't know is another language. If I could go back and do it all over again, that's what it would be. I would live in another culture or another country for a period of time to learn
There you go.
another language. Yes. How have you been, Randy? You had a good day?
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely. Let's catch up here when you get a moment before you head out. Got a couple things for you.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you, guys. Okay. See you later.